sees the means of production, and the like and subscribe button. Anyway, in addition to, this is kind of unrelated to Trump and Kristi Noem, but apparently Camp Mystic, that Christian girls' summer camp that got swept away by the floodwaters, apparently they were building sleeping dorms in the floodway. Like, not little cabins by the water to watch the river, but they built where people sleep in the floodway. Not the floodplains, the floodway. So I hope there are some lawsuits. Because, like, that to me, like, the people responsible for these decisions should be, like, financially obliterated. Possibly criminally obliterated as well. That's pretty bad. It's illegal in most states. Texas has no such regulations. They might become illegal. It might become illegal in Texas. Like this might be bad enough. It gets, Texas offers a steep discount on mortgage and construction costs if you willingly choose to build in the path of floods. So they do it. I don't know why the fuck I live in this country. Honestly, I genuinely don't know why I live. I feel like I'm deliberately nerfing myself. I could, like I could be anywhere else. You were born here? Yeah, I guess. 19 cabins located in designated flood zones, including some in an area the county had deemed as extremely hazardous. Also, the county literally turned down funds for flood early warning systems to get an own on the Biden administration. Reconstruction can't come soon enough, man. I genuinely have no sympathy for the Trump supporters in the area that perished or who know people who perished, because, like, you literally voted for this. I don't know how obvious, I don't know how often you have to run headlong into the wall over and over and over and over again, okay? You're voting for pro-death people. I'm sorry, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? And they get angry for pointing that out. Yeah, that, okay? Seriously, I'm so tired of this dynamic where the buffoonery of liberals is like a spectacle for us all to enjoy, as it should be, by the way, but the feelings of people who vote to have themselves shot in the balls over and over again are meant to be coddled and respected. Like, we're supposed to be sympathetic to these things. The only reason they're having these, like, these moments of regret is because they're the ones being flooded and not us, okay? The Christian extremists who are sending their little girls to this camp, I bet you it's majority Christian extremists. It's a little Christian summer camp, okay? It's Texas, all right? If a flood hit the neighborhood where I live in, or hit New York City, whatever the else, they'd be like, yeah, God's punishing the homosexuals. You, and your feelings, dude. The only reason you give a shit is because we're not the ones getting hurt. When fires happen in a blue state, they don't give a fuck. When floods happen in a blue state, they don't give a fuck. LA fires, they don't give a shit. Floods in New York City a couple years back, they don't give a shit. They never, ever, ever give a shit. They're openly contemptuous. They do not care. That is true of some, not all. Yeah, and for the some to whom this doesn't apply, obviously they're not in the line of fire. Yeah, if you're not a Trump supporter and you're affected by this, yeah, then obviously this doesn't apply to you. But, like, this charity is never extended bidirectionally, ever. They don't have empathy. They don't even care about themselves, being weaponized outwardly entirely. They are not evil on purpose. For one, I think that's bullshit. They are literally going out and laughing at the suffering of the unfortunate. The MAGA movement is not doing harm because they have a honest misunderstanding about the way the world works. Like, for Reaganomics, there are a lot of people who just don't understand how the economy works and who genuinely think that capitalist accumulation benefits everyone. A rising tide lifts all boats. That's bullshit. But I don't blame the average person for not understanding how economics works. Like, that is difficult. It's a difficult subject, okay? We're in a time where the current president campaigned on deporting 20 million people, and his followers are drooling and cheering, and, like, their veins bulging from their necks, celebrating as they see videos of ununiformed masked ICE agents brutalizing honest, non-criminal people. Like, just regular-ass people. Like, come the on. No, they are pro-evil. They are knowingly pro-evil. So many white people voted to destroy the New Deal just so the blacks can't use it. It's been like this, like, always. Like, every white person who suffers in West Virginia does so in large part because either they or their immediate ancestors supported a political movement that deprived them of economic well-being because they were told black people benefited from it too. Sorry, my sympathy is limited, okay? If they can't express sympathy for people dying in floods and wildfires because they're Democrats, then why the should I be sympathetic to them when they're causing the floods and the wildfires and supporting and cheering when it happens to other people? And we have to bend down and get sympathetic and prostrate ourselves before them because it happened to them that time. I'm not falling for this bullshit anymore. All of this, have sympathy for the misled working class of the red state. It's been a psyop from the beginning. But 6 years ago, when Camp Mystic pursued a $5 million construction project to overhaul and expand its private, for-profit Christian camp, no effort was made to relocate the most at-risk cabins away from the river. Instead, local officials authorized the construction of new cabins in another part of the camp, including some that also lie in a designated flood risk area. Around the country, construction is highly discouraged in river floodways, where deep and fast-moving waters are expected to travel during flood events. She said it was particularly problematic to build a camp that houses children in an area so susceptible to flooding. Well, I voted to have my arm put in the grinder. Why is my arm being put in the grinder? No, it'd be more like they voted for your arm to be put in the grinder, but because they didn't understand the fine print, they sit there laughing for 6 months at you while your arm gets melted away, and then their arm gets put in the grinder, and they're like, what the f***? Dude, this is serious now. I was earnestly misled. I didn't understand what the consequences of my vote were. Also, I probably wouldn't change my vote if I went back in time, but like, feel bad for me. I don't feel bad for you. I didn't vote for this. Yes, you did. Well, you voted for it to happen to other people. That's all they want, dude. That's all conservatives ever want, is for you to feel bad for them. They're so pathetic. The entire thing is built on victimhood culture and grievances, you know? The entire culture, like always, Christians are being persecuted, whites are being persecuted over and over. It's the same rhetoric every time. Whenever a bad thing happens to us, we have to tank it. Whenever a bad thing happens to gays, blacks, Asian, what, it doesn't matter. Like any demographic that isn't the right, and it's just jokes to them, you know? But the moment anything happens to them, we all have to come together in a moment of solidarity and prayer. Everyone has to care. I don't care. You did this. Measles cases hit 33-year high. Yeah, and you know what? You look at the stories of this happening and you get the interviews of the parents of children who have measles, and wow, what a surprise. They're all Trump supporters. Not all. There are people who have like immunocompromised kids, of course, but I'm not angry at them, you know? Like, you're just killing your own kids. I agree with what you're saying, but how do you reconcile this with the idea that if progressives/Democrats had a strong populist left message that many former Trump supporters would support it? They should just be stigmatized. They should feel ashamed of what they did. Like, for one, listen, okay? If Republican voters cared about strong populist working class policies, they wouldn't like Trump, okay? We are not talking about an earnest, noble, savage group of people with strong principles who are merely like the heartland hasn't been reached. We're talking about overwhelmingly stupid bigots. Like, don't pretend we live in a different world, right? The lefty, the Twitter lefty who thinks we live in the world where like every member of the working class, every Appalachian coal miner, every like electrician working around Dearborn or whatever, they're all these like salt of the earth, earnest people who are just looking for God's honest chance. No, they're not. Stop. Like, why would you say that? What evidence are you basing that opinion of yours on? No, they're not. They're overwhelmingly big. They're bigoted. They're not intelligent because they're not educated. And they consistently vote against every single thing we believe in, okay? There are people who like Trump who also like Bernie because they see Bernie and Trump as both being authentic people. These people are stupid, and they don't like Bernie for his progressive policies. They like him for superficial aesthetic reasons. Clearly, they don't actually care about sincerity because they also like Trump, who is not sincere, or not sincere in the way that matters, I suppose. He's, I guess, sincerely dementia-addled. So you just have to deal with the fact that you're dealing with dumb cattle here, okay? And every socialist movement has had this point. You have to recognize, like, no, the peasantry, the stupid, unwashed, uneducated goat fuckers that live in the hills are not, in fact, somehow, are not ideologically in line with a movement that has and always has, not just recently, but always been predominantly made up of young college students. You just have to accept that. And we could build a better world, but we're not going to get there if we keep stumbling over this hurdle. We keep getting tricked into thinking that the real way to win, like a broad majority consensus, is by appealing to the instincts of people who are unintelligent and hate everything we stand for. Even if it would be better for them. Liberation to these goat fuckers is having a nicer car than their neighbor. They don't give a fuck about the blacks in the coastal city. They don't care about Jews. They just like the fact that Israel bombs Arabs. You give them money, they would build more parking lots. What if we forced everyone to live half their time in cities? Yeah, you're describing a kind of reverse Pol Pot, which I unironically support. Thank you. Yeah, I've been pretty like radicalized in that direction. Yeah, you will work, you will be a barista. Yeah, no, I'm here for it. Oh. Not specifically about Republicans, but about poor people. Here's the vote share by income in New York City. Yeah, poor people voted more for Cuomo in the Democratic primary than even like the wealthy $250,000 a year people. Sorry, education and income correlate. Uneducated people, generally speaking, are our enemy. You are more likely to get inroads with suburban wine moms with a bachelor's degree than you are to go to a place with a median household income of $42,000 and convince them that socialism will fix their problems. Maybe we should actually educate these poor people then? That would be great. Join PV, go and try. Unfortunately, in reality, people, especially uneducated, stupid people, are stubborn. And if you reach a person when they're 45, they're probably not going to walk back every position they've had for their entire life because a college student went up to them and explained otherwise. No, what we need is power, social stigma, and a mandate, all right? It's not enough to just appeal to the people who already believe in what we're talking about. You need to make believing the opposite untenable. This is how, by the way, just so you all know, this is how we got people, by and large, to stop dropping the N-bomb in public, okay? After the Civil Rights Movement, day one, all right, you start integrating people. What happens to the Little Rock Nine? They have to be escorted into their school by paratroopers. You think all those screaming whites, the ones who were throwing rocks, the ones who were, like, having a stroke, yelling at those little black girls, do you think that they were convinced out of the positions they held? See, nowadays, we still have reactionaries, but we don't need Little Rock Nine paratroopers, you know, anymore, for the most part. We've moved on from that era, at least for now. Why? Because we made being that kind of guy socially untenable. You didn't convince them. You go up to the screaming woman behind them who's yelling at troops and little girls and be like, oh, well, have you considered actually that racial science is antiquated? The phrenology is only funny as a meme? It doesn't work. You just have to make them suffer with social stigma until they shut the fuck up about it. Then you educate their children better than they could ever provide and teach them the opposite of what they would otherwise believe. Public education for everyone. No private education, no homeschooling. Everyone gets the line. Otherwise, civilization ends. And I mean that. We're literally living in a anti-civilization presidential administration right now. Climate change? Who the fuck cares? Any government competence on any level? Who the fuck cares? The budget? Who fucking cares, dude? The debt? Who the fuck cares? No one cares. And a bunch of idiots are clapping along, you know? Civilization, if you want democracy to be the way we do these things, then the education of the masses, their disposition is literally live or die. It's not a choice anymore. If you want to go to like an autocracy or a monarchy, then sure, you can play around with it. Who cares if only 10% of the population is literate when one guy makes all the decisions anyway? If you want a democracy, this is what matters most. Sorry, I'm being a little bit too self-righteous and have been for like 25 minutes now. Didn't Marx describe this for the 1848 French Revolution, how Napoleon made himself emperor by allying behind him all the lumpenproles and rural peasants? Yeah, the poor Lumpenproll and peasants have been the ally of the reactionary, basically always, everywhere, in all times. I have no idea why these, like, MLs on Twitter think that rural working class people are the allies of socialists, despite them not being that and consistently being the most aggressive anti-socialists. I have no idea why. I have no clue where this came about. It's noble savage bullshit is what it is. It's people with college degrees on the coasts who don't like the fact, they're insecure about the fact that their populist messaging appeals predominantly to people who are in the educational elite. So they lie to themselves and they pretend that if they just drove around northern Idaho, they would find kinship in all of these goat fuckers, or I guess sheep fuckers. It's not too hilly up there. Is it? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it is. Why was the Democratic Party the party of the poor until recently for so long? Because the New Deal primarily benefited whites. The Great Depression was so bad that it united everyone under an economically populist social democratic Keynesian model. But the New Deal, Roosevelt, had to make compromises because he didn't want blacks to benefit too much. Because that was a no-go for a lot of Americans. Literally, that's it. These fucks only accepted something that made their lives better because they were that desperate and because concessions were made to keep it out of the hands of black people. And then they voted to take it away piece by piece as it was made more equitable. Carved out exceptions for sharecroppers and domestic workers. Oh, not to mention the fact that the GI Bill didn't get all the black folk a nice suburban house. it was the only thing that animates them is racism and grievance, okay?